Welcome to the Arcfluence podcast, where we talk about how design impacts the way we live, work, and invest. I'm Nick Kirkan, your host, and with me, as always, is my business partner and co-host, Paul Fatkins.
You know, I've heard that about 100 times
now. Deja vu?
Yeah, deja vu. We're in the Matrix right now, and I just saw a cat walk by.
Bob Porter, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here.
You know, it sounds funny calling you Bob Porter.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is gonna be one of those weird episodes because I've always known you as Mr. P.
Well, I think 20 years ago I called you Uncle Bob, and then more recently you're just Dad.
It's been a while. You've been calling me Dad for a long time.
You are truly a Renaissance man, and we have you here for a somewhat specific reason. We want to talk about the chef's kitchen.
Yeah, the kitchen is one of the main spaces of the house, right? I mean, there's a lot of function that goes into a kitchen, especially if it's one of your hobbies or something you really enjoy doing, or you really enjoy hosting or having people over. I mean, the kitchen becomes a really, critical part of your house and the design and flow and, everything around the kitchen.
Sure. Well, I think, Paulie, I think you said it right. I mean, I grew up in a family culture that centered around the kitchen. You wouldn't know it by my last name, but I'm mainly an Italian. I grew up with an Irish father and an Italian mother. We talk about the day my dad became an Italian. That's pretty much the day he married my mother, because that's a culture that assimilates you. So that was very much a part of our upbringing. And even though I grew up in a large extended Italian family that had very humble homes, they found a way to make their kitchen the very center of the household. No matter how inconspicuous it was the gathering place. And you weren't just there for a little while. You were there doing prep. You were there sneaking food. You were there for a long meal. You were there drinking wine, and then you played cards and drank coffee afterwards. So that was the center of the Italian existence, and that really rubbed off on me and all my siblings. And we really all had gained an affinity for just creating food and creating experience and experiencing family.
I love that. And you've had a lifetime of this at this point. And I remember, these family get-togethers from my college days 20 years ago. And during all this, you're an executive vice president in sales for a steel company. You're chair on the Canton Symphony board. You're also doing all these other things in your life and hosting these food clubs and still finding time and a passion for food.
Just thought of something now, and I think there's a distinct possibility that my siblings, my two sisters and my brother will possibly hear this. So I just want to put it out there in the public forum that no matter what the heck they say, I still make the best sauce in the family. So if you guys could get that message out to the masses, we'd have many in our.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say they're not here to challenge that point, so we'll let it stand.
Well, I'm going to put it in the show notes. So over the years, you've done a lot of home projects and modified your kitchen to make it more appropriate for hosting. So let's talk about some of the design aspects, the amenities, the equipment that you've done, your spice rack, like all these things that kind of now evolved for your personal cooking and family cooking experience. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Evolution is a good description because, Nick, you got to experience it over about a 2-decade period where it just kept morphing and evolving, and we would modify it and change it and think about it. But it did start with, at the beginning of it started with a gut job and really kind of rethinking the flow of the kitchen. So it really started with, back about 25 years ago, finding a home that we loved that had tremendous bones, but it was a vintage late 80s design, and it just wasn't functional to what I just described for the type of kitchen and cooking environment that we like.
Things obviously change over time too. It's like people have certain ways they think about hosting events or hosting people in their home. there's a certain flow to their home, and over time those standards basically change. I mean, there's things that we do now that we would, 20 years ago, like nobody would ever think of. Like you said, you just, as you discover these things, it's like, yeah, maybe that's a good idea. Let's change it and try it.
Well, I would challenge you, like the experiences I have at the Porter residence is more of a restaurant experience rather than, I mean, there are dinners where we've gotten curated menus and multiple courses and an explanation of how this was prepared.
Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's a standard thing.
No, that's a little old world meets new world, definitely. But
yeah, but I mean, like you said, you had a house with bones, right? That you kind of, at a certain point, you gutted the kitchen area and reworked how the layout was, and that was the starting point for your evolution, right?
Well, I'll tell you a quick story, which was the true catalyst of how it all got started. Because Mom and I found this house. We liked it. We felt like we could live with it when we first moved into it the way it was. And it was one of these designs where they had a peninsula that's kind of stuck out very conspicuously in the middle of the kitchen, which is fine. It was functional, but in classic late 80s style, they had a soffit that went around the perimeter of the kitchen, and then the cabinets were fastened right underneath that. And that soffit and those cabinets extended over the island. Over the peninsula.
Just separated the space.
Yeah. Nick loves peninsulas, by the way.
That is sarcasm.
Yeah, and it was just terrible because it was in the way. It was you couldn't talk to anybody on the other side. You couldn't see into what is a pretty nice space otherwise without that obstruction in there. But here's the worst part of it. I'm 6'4", and I would have to bend down to grab something out of a drawer, or I'd be working over that peninsula, and invariably I would bump my head on the darn thing, and opened up some pretty nice welts over the first couple years we lived there. And after about the fourth or fifth time of banging the heck out of my head on that thing, there was one morning my mom was kind of sleeping in late on a weekend, and all of a sudden she hears this pounding, and it's me with a sledgehammer just beating the hell out of those cabinets. I had enough, and I started ripping them out. And she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "These cabinets got to go." I said, "I'm not going to bang my head on them anymore." She said, "Well, what are you going to do?" I said, "I don't know. We'll figure it out."
Yeah.
Well, that's how
enough is enough.
Well, that is the prelude to just more modern design anyways, because we don't separate the kitchen like that anymore between a formal dining or informal dining space and where we prepare our food. It's now all one space, open, so that we can have communication, thoughtful conversations.
Yeah, and usually with an island so that you can access from all sides, walk around, no problem.
Right.
Yeah, you upgraded your appliances as well. I think I remember many conversations that you'd love to bounce ideas off me, and I loved participating in these conversations. And you now have a dedicated ice machine, which is super functional for family and events and friends. You have a whole area for your spices. You got a larger stove, right, and with a hood. I think. Did you have a microwave over your fridge originally?
Yeah, I did have one of those gaudy, horrible microwaves over it, and we pulled that out and we put a nice stainless steel vented hood to the outside so that we could put more of a commercial gas cooktop, and off we go.
So take us on a journey. What goes through your head when you're working in the kitchen, and what's important to you in terms of food prep, and how does that tie back into design?
Well, it was a couple things. I mean, so when we first started kind of tearing things out, one of the first things we thought is, well, let's kind of think about the footprint of where cabinets are and how functional they are, and how we can store things easily and get to them easily. And so we looked at that and thought, okay, we'll just rip these out and put new cabinets in. And I had an Amish guy that would periodically do some work for us, and his name is Abe Yoder, and he was just classic, just a great craftsman. And Abe came in the first time. I said, Abe, I'm thinking about just reconfiguring this, moving some of these cabinets in different spots, but I just wanted White Mountain get new cabinets. And he said, oh no, you're not doing that. He said, these are Amish made solid hickory cabinets. He said, I won't let you rip them out. We'll do something different with them. And so he got me thinking about that. And I pulled the soffits out and we put over cabinet lighting. We put beautiful crown moldings over the top. We just changed the look of it. We wanted a really neat looking old Tuscan look to the kitchen. I wanted to feel like I was in the old world, old country kind of cooking in grandma's kitchen with all the modern amenities. And so it was kind of old world meets new world. And that was the thought process when we were doing that.
You even have, you had like you had some technique that you did on your walls where it almost created a stucco look. And it's this beautiful, like textured.
That's really kind of funny because, it is that, but we lived in Arizona for about 8 years when the kids were younger. And, there are no smooth walls in Arizona homes. They're all textured walls. And it's actually they do it because it's actually a lot simpler to finish walls in that textured look. But what we learned here in this part of the world, that's considered a major upgrade. Like when you have your house appraised, you actually get extra points on that or extra value because the wall's textured. And then it's just kind of a standard thing. You just spray sheetrock compound with a hopper and just smooth it out with a trowel. It's the simplest thing in the world to do, but it does look really cool. It just looks very old world, like an old world, concrete stuccoed wall. So it has a great look and dimension to it.
Yeah, I spent some time in New Mexico, and it's like you said, completely different world in terms of style and how they finish their walls. I mean, they have this adobe style and stucco, and it's everywhere. You can't find a house without it, and then you come here and it's the complete opposite.
Yeah, so. Exactly. My wife, Mom got. She's an interesting gal because she is not afraid to roll her sleeves up. She knows her way around a wet saw and a power tool. And as she and I were just kind of going through that journey together, learning how to do things, she's even a lot more. I mean, I'm great at demo, but she's great at the details. So she learned.
I was going to say that doesn't surprise me, Mr. P.
No, I know that. Yeah, my dad always said I was a little bit of a bull in the china shop, and there's some truth to that. But Mom really has a great eye and a great touch. She got an artist eye. So all the travertine and old world look tile that's on the walls, she did it all. She did it not only in the kitchen, but when we remodeled our master bathroom. I mean, she cut every piece on the wet saw, put every piece up. She's got a talent for it. So that really helped not having to be doing all that.
No, she would. I remember having conversations about these interesting techniques where she'd paint the wall and then put the texture on, and then it'd be a different color. So there's this layer and depth to some of the things.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. And it does feels like an old castle kitchen,
Right.
but you have plenty of space and natural light. It's just, it is really unique. I love it.
Yeah. And the thing we discovered too, because everybody gets hung up on whatever new wave of design is out there and the big open concept and paint it all white and all that jazz. And, and we would fall into that trap periodically, but over time we've started to say, we like what we like. And we know there's a timelessness to certain things, certain elements. And if they go out of vogue for the moment, as long as they're tasteful and they coordinate and they fit, they'll come back. And I know you guys are seeing that where things go in waves like that. Something that was, I mean, even all the earth tones were completely out. Well, they seem like they're in again, right? So
they are
true. So
they're back.
Man, I just always encourage people when they ask me, well, what did you do? Why'd you do this? I'd say, just do what you love. Make a space that you really enjoy. And if you enjoy it, you'll enjoy it for the long haul.
Yeah, I mean, you're the one occupying the space and hosting people and using the space every day as you're prepping these meals for people. So it's like, again, do what's personalized to you. Do what you think is best. I mean, that's definitely advice that goes across the board for any homeowner.
Well, I mean, to be fair, sometimes that can get you in trouble because if you do find yourself putting your home on the market and you did something very specific,
investors are different than.
I'm not even talking about investors. If you do something that's very design specific to your home, there is a chance that you could limit your buyer's pool when you go to sell it.
Sure.
So, I mean,
I think in this case, we're talking about forever, like dream homes. Yeah. This is where they're going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with. But I think over time, Mom and I we've done things that are less radical and a little. We try to have a little bit of mainstream in it too, so that it would have more of a mass appeal to people. Because I think our tastes have become that way. We have been influenced by some of the new conceptual designs that are very popular. I love a bright space. I mean, when we built the sunroom off of the kitchen, as you know, I mean that space is bright, white, cheery, shiplappy, I mean,
tall ceilings,
and yeah. we love that. So we tried to incorporate some of those elements back in as we've had to repaint and things like that. We brightened up the paint a little bit. We've added some elements that have a little bit more of what's nouveau.
Can you speak a little bit about hosting? What goes through your mind when you're putting together these events that you did for the Canton Symphony or for our family and friends when you have 20 people over at the house?
Yeah, or 100 people where you have some pig roast.
I think it's just something in the DNA with cooking and with hospitality. You either love it or you just tolerate it or you hate it. I mean, there's very little in between there. And so if you're either passionate about it or you're not. And it's always been a passion of mine. I think it was just in the DNA. I think it was because you grow up in that big Italian household with aunts and uncles and grandparents around all the time who are cut from the same cloth, the same enjoyment of just feeding people and the joy that you get from that. And it's not like it's something where you build something and then you look at it for the rest of your life, because we eat 3 times a day or more. And so this is always an ongoing thing. It's part of the fabric of our lives to entertain, to break bread with one another. And so that was always woven into my family.
I think that philosophy it felt rarer when I was younger. And whether you're having large families where you're having lots of kids or not, or you're young professionals, I think there's I feel the awareness, or I see from my perception, I see the desire for everyone to have a space that it can be used for entertainment, right? They want that flexibility. And I think that it's adding value to real estate, because more people are requesting that type of environment for that type of possible
just having
use.
A great functionality for food prep was a really big deal. We made it where we put kind of these industrial looking bar stools around both sides of that peninsula, and people could sit on one side and help you prep food, or just sit there with a glass of wine or a cup of coffee and help you prep. And on the other side, when my back starts to pull out, man, I just sit down on the stool and I keep going, and it just works. Functionally, it flows really nicely.
I enjoy both sides, particularly the wine.
Yeah, Paul, you may not know this, but every time Nick comes over, I've got a wine cellar that it's got a few hundred bottles in it, and I always tell. He says, "What can I have, Dad?" I said, "Well, just go pick one out." He says, "Well, I don't know what to pick." I said, "Well, there's no restrictions. Pick one out." And I've got bottles in there that are, some good bottles, Yeah. But it's hard.
Yeah, AI has gotten you in trouble recently, because I know what
I know.
what these bottles are now.
While you'll grab the $2 chuck and I'll laugh my butt off, and then I'll say, "Try that. See how you like that." And then
well, he's got to warm up, and then he goes for the good stuff.
No, it's the other way around.
It's the other way around. You go for the good stuff, and then you close out the night.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say you have some overflow space as well. Like some of these events you're doing, outdoor cooking. I think for the pig roast, you like brought in. We had it was the whole pig, right? And it
Yes.
was on a smoker that you basically trailered in, and then you had your patio that's right off of the kitchen as well.
Outdoor space, we're thinking the same way too. So we built that. We added a sunroom a number of years ago, for a season room, I should say, and which is a sunroom, and then a nice patio off of that. And then I've got I ran natural gas lines underneath that, so that we could have a nice infrared tech grill on one side, and we had
Hibachi.
yeah, the hibachi, but what are they called? Blackstone, a Blackstone griddle. So we can do everything from Japanese cooking to smash burgers on that on the other side. So you can prep about anything there. And then to Paulie's point, we brought in the pig roaster once in a while, and we got the fire pit in the back and a little grill, permanent grill back there for old school grilling as well. So you can do a lot outside as long as it doesn't rain.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of requests come in, especially from the higher end clients, that we deal with. It's again like you have your main kitchen space, but then you have these spaces that spill and transition into outdoor spaces that also have outdoor kitchens and cooking amenities out there and seating out there, and it's just an extension of the kitchen at that point.
Yes, you're big. So I mean, we now incorporate large pantries or butler. I call our space a scullery. It's basically a secondary kitchen or a storage area for food and even some food prep. But that space that's off the kitchen, not the formal living room, but not the piano room, but was it like an office? Yeah, was that always supposed to be a pantry? Because there's a window in there. It's a big room.
It's interesting because when we moved into that house, there was a big closet where that entry door is. There was a big closet there, and there was just a little door, a small 30-inch door to enter that room, and it was basically considered an office. There was no closet in it, but it's a big room, and we just got the bright idea. We thought this is a complete waste, so we blew that wall out. We put in a nice double door or French glass door, and just kind of had this vision that would be our walk-in pantry, because it was just right off of the kitchen. Yep. And I mean, it's an understatement because you've seen it, Nick. It's a lot more than a pantry. I mean, that's just morphed into an everything room for all things culinary. So we keep all of our pots and pans and roasters and every herb and spice under the sun that we have all alphabetical on the shelves, and any food stocks and pastas and rices and you name it, everything's kind of there at your fingertips, and just made it a nice.
Yeah, food wrap and a vacuum seal machine, which I need to get.
Well, hey, look, guys, if there's anything that Mom and I have learned over the years since we've done this, because there's areas where sometimes you can afford things, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you got to trim back a little bit and not go too luxury. But one thing I don't spare expense on is just having great appliances to cook with. And so really good high-end grills outside, really nice quality double oven with French doors, and a really nice commercial gas cooktop, and a nice fridge. I mean, those, not having tinny, tough to work with appliances makes a big difference.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have the right tools for the job. You can't, switch it to a different analogy. You can't be a car mechanic and change a transmission or something with a set of wrenches, and that's all you got to work with. You need the right tools for the job at hand. And I would say, to your point on storage, it's having a place to have things that are tucked away but still at your fingertips is always easy thing to overlook. And a lot of times, it's like, oh, do I really want my pantry this big? Yes, absolutely. Because again, you don't want necessarily this stuff to be out and on your countertops all the time. You want a place to tuck it away, but at the same time, pull it out quickly when you need it.
Well, exactly. I think the modern day kitchen, especially in these luxury homes or luxury kitchens we're designing, it's no question. You have we now have so much function in these spaces where sometimes it's storage, but it also goes into secondary sinks, coffee stations, additional prep areas, a second dishwasher, a beverage fridge or wine fridge, all these things that now can be incorporated. So you still have some of that function in your main kitchen, but this is now becoming more of a congregational space. Although you still do a ton of prep work in the main kitchen, but it's also designed where you have the capacity to keep it clean, right? So you can now put some of that mess or this appliance garage or some of this equipment away so that it's not always out, and it's not a job to get it out if you do need to use it. It's still readily available.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's one thing. The one thing I have to teach my in-laws is how to put stuff away.
What, Paul, your house is huge.
I know, and there's plenty of storage, but yet there's stuff that always remains out constantly.
You need to put some prep space in your pantry.
I guess
right now it's just all storage.
Yeah. I need to make some changes, I guess. Yeah. So we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in fact, that, you mentioned the prep space in the pantry, Nick, that originally we didn't do that, but then we kind of gravitated toward that, putting in some commercial looking stainless steel carts and shelving. And that's where some of those smaller appliances are. There's an air fryer. There's a pasta machine or a KitchenAid, and we can make homemade pasta in that room. We can do the vacuum sealing in there. So there are a lot of those kind of functions we took away from the kitchen because it isn't a huge kitchen. So there are limitations, and you do need to take some of that away from the food prep area.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or just a place to get it out of the way. Like you said, it's like a dedicated space for it, then is what it becomes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know the answer to this, but what type of value do you think you added to your house by making all these changes? Because these are things that people are looking for when they buy a home.
I mean, a lot. I mean, when we did a lot of these changes, because it's been dog years. I mean, you look at the cost of doing these kind of improvements 5 years ago even versus today, and the costs have jumped geometrically. But when we did it, I mean, I think our all-in cost to remodel the entire house was under $25,000. Now that's because Mom and I did.
Well, they were also doing some of the work.
We did 90% of the work. Yeah. The stuff the Amish craftsman did with with some of the woodwork in the kitchen, that kind of thing. That's obviously I brought them in for that, and I try not to, even though I can do electrical, I try not to dabble in that. I'll bring the guy for that.
You got your uplighting, you got your downlighting for your underneath the cabinets.
But I just say I think we easily added, for that $25,000 investment, upwards of a couple $100,000 of value to the house in today's dollar. Yeah,
easily. Yeah.
Kitchen's what? It's not top. What's bedrooms are like?
Curb appeal's number one.
Curb appeal's always number one.
Yeah. Then
what? Where's kitchen? Like third?
No, it's second.
Second.
Yeah, it's second.
So adding a bedroom is below kitchen renovation.
Primary suite is a close third.
Okay.
In terms of value. Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess it's one of the top items to basically do a renovation on.
Yep.
In terms of adding value to your property would be the kitchen space.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. P, are you planning? The plan is to stay here, right? You've created a place where you're good, right?
Yeah. Or is ArcFluence going to design you a new custom home?
That's what I was getting to.
I think the answer is yes to both questions. We've actually talked about. I never thought we'd talk about this, but we have. Mom and I talked about. As we get up in years, it might be time to look at getting a house all on one level. One of the things I I'm not crazy about in our house is we kind of live on 3 levels because, laundry rooms. I got a finished basement. We finished that all off, and it's nice, but it's downstairs. So the laundry's in the basement, and we live on the ground floor, and the bedrooms are upstairs. And so and that's a hassle, especially as your knees get a little rickety. So we've thought about the idea of kind of just looking at something that would be a ranch all on one level,
or a house with a elevator.
Yeah. And this, of course, will be in the Columbus area also.
Yeah.
but
Nick wants everybody to be where he is.
Nick's
Don't listen to him.
But Nick, you know me well enough that I don't think I could just go out and buy somebody else's ranch. I'd have to buy. We'd have to buy something and got the hell out of it, or we'd have to build sticks up. So it would have to be right because I'm too darn picky. If there's one thing about doing it yourself over the years, I am extremely finicky about the details of how things look, and we're not going to do it unless it looks really good. And that's, of course, one of the advantages of doing it yourself. I would encourage anybody who's doing projects like this. You don't have to farm it all out, man. Do some of it. Roll your sleeves up. I was learning this stuff when we didn't have YouTube, so it was a little more challenging to learn how to do it. I had to find somebody with experience to teach me, but now there's very little you can't do without a quick YouTube tutorial.
Yeah,
there's even some drywall video on there by a certain somebody.
Oh yeah, so, I got over 1 million views.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely true, and especially with the cost of everything these days, if you're able to roll up your sleeves and put some of that value by doing it yourself. Granted, there's a learning curve on some stuff, so you want to hire some of the stuff out if you can, but a lot of this stuff can be learned.
Yeah,
can be done.
Yeah, you got to pick your spots. I mean, nobody wants to do it all, but you're going to need help, and you're going to need some craftsmen for some things, or some of the heavy lifting stuff that is a little harder for me to do now that I'm in my 60s. Yeah, that's one thing, but yeah. Roll your sleeves up, learn how to do it. And it's I can tell you this, and Dick, I know you guys know this, it's certainly a lot more rewarding as Mom and I look back and enjoy our home. We were like, hey, we did this, we built this. Wow, this is really cool that we had a big hand in this.
So is it going to be hard to let go of that? Are you that's why the next kitchen is going to have to be absolutely perfect.
Oh yeah, yeah. Right? We'll just start. We'll start with a kitchen. We'll build a kitchen first, and then build a house around it. Nick, you'll have fun with that.
I love that. I mean, that's not a bad way to go. And they always say the kitchen is the center of the household. Right?
Yeah, sure. It'd be a little tough to let it go, but that's somebody's going to enjoy it at some point. So we'll pass it on when we have to.
Well, Dad, I think that this was so much fun.
How about this? What's a mistake you've made that you could advise to avoid? Is there something that sticks out in your mind where it's like, I wish I never would have done that. That was stupid to do it, or I should have done it differently.
Paulie, I made so many mistakes. That's how you learn.
So what's one that sticks in to the top of the head, the top of the thoughts?
Oh, we're back on. Let's go.
Yeah.
One thing that comes to mind I mentioned when we were first ripping that kitchen apart, and they had the soffits over the cabinets, which I've never been fond of. Where it's just kind of a builder's hack shortcut to it's laziness. They put these soffits up, and then they put the cabinets right up against it, and you wasted that beautiful space up top that you could put over cabinet lighting in, and dimensionally just look a lot nicer. And I said, and Jen and I both said, those soffits got to go. I said, yeah, that'll be easy. I'll just, I'll take the cabinets off and I'll rip the soffits down. So I get up there and I start taking these soffits out. Well, of course, they had,
wires,
oh my gosh, they had
plumbing, ductwork,
all kinds of infrastructure hidden in these damn soffits. And so then I spent the next month just creatively having to reroute all that stuff, and it was the project from hell. And by the time I'd done that, it was too late to go back. I mean, I'd already started ripping it off. Like I had to just keep going, and we already had it in our heads that it had to come off. So might have done that a little.
Honey, I want to go for the industrial
Yeah.
look. We'll just do exposed
That too.
ductwork and wires.
We call that in our industry unforeseen circumstances. So stuff that comes up during demo happens all the time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's like you can't be afraid to move forward. Sometimes you got to stick to your guns and move ahead.
Hey, it's worth not looking at that
Yeah.
soffit.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
And the other thing I think we learned is that the plan is very fluid. I mean, Mom and I have always drawn up a plan, and we'll get a big sheet of graph paper and kind of draw everything out to scale on how we think it's going to look, but it never ends up looking that way at the end. Because we always make deviations or changes or get inspirations in the middle of it as we're chipping away at it. And so that you got to keep a sense of humor about that. That's all part of the fun.
Yeah, that is definitely some of the expectations that I help a lot of our clients with.
Even to a certain extent, we try to draw some, basically have some flexibility in our drawings so that there's options there on the table. As you get into the project, like you said, you make these little minor adjustments. That doesn't matter for life safety or how the thing functions, but there are little touches that matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, or you decide to get an additional appliance or add an extra outlet or add that downlighting underneath the cabinets or uplighting above the crown molding. I think these are important details that you may not have planned going into it, but you can certainly add it at a low cost and really elevate the look and the value there.
Well, I got to tell you guys, I wanted to say this too. I'm really proud of you guys. I mean, it's just been fun watching you guys grow as designers and builders and architects, and some of the great work you're out there doing now, and the tremendous business and reputation that you've developed in your craft. It's really impressive, and so keep up the good work, because I think you're doing some real groundbreaking work with your business.
Hey, I can't argue with that.
Yeah. I was gonna say thank you, Mr. P. But the best is yet to come, so we're still working on it.
Yeah,
that's right. Thanks so much for joining us today. I think that's a good stopping point. And with that, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Buddies.
This has been the ArcFluence Podcast. As always, you can get more information and additional content on arcfluence.com. Please subscribe on the platform of your choice and leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you.